New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Rev Briz with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit. Happens every Friday morning here at 7 a.m. on the Mountain Time Zone. So glad you're with us on the New Thought Media Network. Good morning, Z. How you doing, my brother?
Oh, doing well. Can't complain. The weather in Colorado is schizophrenic, so I'm feeling schizophrenic, I guess. Goodness gracious.
And they say we've got another one coming soon. Or at least I think.
Yes. I mean, who knows at this point? It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy, this weather. But I'm enjoying it. Yesterday was a beautiful day, and the day's a beautiful morning so far, so I'm doing well.
Yes, exactly. Today is a glorious day because it's the day that George Santos is going to be expelled. Folks, if you're not following the story, Republican representative to the House of Representatives, George Santos out of New York, is actually wearing this as a badge of honor. It sounds like he's bragging about the fact.
No way.
He is on the verge of being only the sixth person ever to be expelled from the House of Representatives. And seems like the Democrats and the Republicans have finally found something they can agree upon.
You know, it's the state of politics has just created some havoc, right? Because when you can go into the hallowed halls, if you will, of our government and make a mockery of it by saying, I'm proud to be expelled because I've done all these shady things to get elected, and then on top of that, I took the money that was supposed to get me elected and bought things for myself. I mean, I don't know how much lower we can go than that.
Yes. And especially paying for your OnlyFans subscription. Like, there's one. Come on, dude. That's something you don't throw that in people's faces. You keep that private. Put that on the credit card your boyfriend doesn't know about, right?
Oh my God.
Put that on the pub. Oh no, the public should pay for my sexual proclivities. That one just kind of pushed me over the edge a little. Like, dude. But it would appear he is on the verge of being expelled. And I want to agree with you, though, the political everything it is really out of hand. And I don't know if you saw Joe Biden was here in Colorado yesterday or the day before, and actually gave himself a little genuflect when he talked about Lauren Boebert. So actually, in the video, it looks like he had a really hard time saying her name. Like, he didn't want to do it. He's like, I don't really want to do this joke, but I'm going to say her name, and then I'm going to give myself a little blessing for saying it. It did get a little bit of a laugh as well, but it kind of shows us where the opinion is of many of this far right MAGA movement and where it is, and between the outright lies and
and the aggressive lying topics and the way these far right MAGAs are operating within the House, it doesn't seem like it's helping.
No, I mean it is literally in my mind like kids in the playground in kindergarten, tit for tat kind of stuff. Uh, you know, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. And to think that in the next 14 months, this is going to get worse. This whole political volleyball, if you will, you
Yes.
begin to see why people check out of the whole process, right? They just say, look, I can't deal with any of it, right? And that's the worst thing to do, right? Because we need conscious, objective, critical thinking individuals to be inside of this activity called politics, even if it's just to raise questions about stuff that doesn't quite sit right,
Yep. And I'm with you on that. It definitely appears that's part of the plan. It is confuse people, piss people off, lie about people, so that the average voter has no real clue of what's going on, or what is real, or what are we supposed to be doing to be able to keep the country moving forward.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the issues that we face, whether they're economic or militarily or whatever, is smoke and mirrors at the level that the public consumption comes in, right? We know we don't get everything. We know and so we need people to be asking questions and having conversations that shine some light on some of these things that people are doing in the closet or in secret or whatever, however you want to term it, to keep it from people knowing about it.
Or right out in front of everybody. Santos hasn't been all that secretive about his how often and how he breaks the law.
Yeah, and I mean they're going to indict this dude for fraud. That's a felony charge. I mean, felony charges start with 20 years maximum.
Yeah, 23 federal indictments. 23 different federal crimes that they believe he's committed. It's
at 35 years old. This dude is 35.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we could riff on that for a minute, but I'm going to leave that alone.
Well, and I think the bigger thing is, all right, in the old days, I know I'm going to start sounding like my father now. Back in my day, right, this guy never would have even made it to the ballot. I also saw the news that Henry Kissinger died.
Yes.
And truthfully, I was surprised I didn't know he was still alive. Honestly, I thought he had, at 100 years old, Henry Kissinger made his transition this week. And, some argue he was a great statesman. And from our perspective, he was. Others across the planet would argue he was a war criminal that was never held accountable. And we're not here to argue that point. But my point really is that when I was a kid, when Henry Kissinger was 35, you didn't even get anywhere close to Congress with the kind of background that George Santos allegedly has lived prior to being elected to the House. Have we gotten to the point? I've been using this a lot recently. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is actually apathy. So are we approaching the point of apathy regarding our political system? Is the majority of America on the verge of absolute apathy that I don't care who it is, it's a Republican, that's who I vote for, and I vote for the guy. Nobody in the Republican system did their background work to figure out if this guy was going to bring something good to the table, or just going to tarnish the name of Republicans, which is what he's doing. Nobody seems to have looked into, because once he was elected, it seemed like all of a sudden, oh shit, we better pay attention to this guy and find out what he's about. And he's a heister, he's a con artist.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing right here. In early November, a few weeks ago, a few days ago, however you want to encapsulate it to see how crazy this is, 182 of his fellow Republicans and 31 Democrats voted against his removal on the grounds that his criminal case should be resolved first. What? He's admitted. I mean, these are things that he's admitted to. So why would I want to take a chance of having this guy doing skullduggery when he's passing a bill or trying to pass a bill or trying to present some legislation to the body? I mean, it's I don't get it anymore.
It sounds like fear of the precedent.
Yeah.
It sounds like somebody who's got some skeletons in their closet go, oh shit, if they can get rid of him just because of that, they could get rid of me because, I used to do this, or I used to do that, or there's those pictures of me down in a handle of whiskey at a party one night, or whatever it might be.
And the serious craziness about it, heck, everybody got some skeletons in the closet.
Yeah.
So it's not about the skeletons. I think. I mean, unless it's a murder or something, right? But as we grow and evolve and learn, there's things I did when I was 15 years old. I don't do them anymore.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So we're gonna, as is the case, we do this show early on Friday morning, so this kind of news never really breaks until about noon.
Yeah. Yeah,
we get done and hang up, and then all of a sudden the news breaks that this is something that Friday mornings is always good for news coming out of DC. That's for sure. Yeah. So we could be wrong. They could vote to keep the man, and they could vote to say, all right, let's see what these trials bring, and let the man serve. He's been elected by the people of New York, and the rest of us can pray that the people of New York do the right thing by the country this coming year and get rid of the guy.
Yeah. I mean, they say $4,000 of the campaign funds went to spa treatments, and another $4,000 went to buying Hermes apparel, some high-end, I don't know. They sell a bunch of stuff. I think clothes and knickknacks. Yeah. But I don't know. It's quite interesting. And I'll tell you though, now the big story, I think that's a big one, but a bigger one, or just as big, is the whole royal racist thing that's about to bubble over, about who in the royal family was the impetus for Harry and Meghan to start considering moving out and giving up titles and stuff. It's come out, and it's come out that it was King Charles and Princess Kate, right? And it came out through the book being published in Dutch, because in London or in Great Britain you can't do that. And then they say, oh, we're sorry, but now it's the cat's out the bag, right? And so
right, and they're saying it was a mistake, that it wasn't, the names weren't actually supposed to be published in the Dutch edition, and an editor missed it, and they're gonna, I mean,
that's like, the people make statements and say, oh, I retract that statement. No, you can't. It's in the universe. How are you gonna retract it?
Exactly.
So that's going to be so now if the statements are true, right? And we'll see how this plays out. you get a real good understanding of why Harry and his father weren't communicating that well, or why there was the little riffs going on about Meghan and Kate not standing next to each other, and all of those kinds of things.
It just flashed on me, the Queen isn't here to keep them all in line anymore.
Yes.
But truly, all right, so this obviously had to happen before maybe not. Maybe it happened once Charles was king, but most likely this event happened before Charles was king.
It did.
And so let's break it down. All right, a very conservative, historically white family, and Harry brings home a woman of color. At some point, Harry's sister-in-law and the old man are going to have a conversation about it, because they've never faced this before.
Nope.
They've never ever thought about this before. So the question, I'm sure, well, how black is the baby going to be? What happens if the baby's like blacker than her? And I'm not condoning it, and I'm not trying to justify it by any means. However, I'm also saying I don't find this all that surprising.
No,
I don't find this all that surprising as well at all. And Meghan stands up and says, to Harry, you're gonna let them get away with this shit? I'm out of here if you let them get away with this. And so, Harry's in love, gonna do what his wife wants him to do, and they split they estrange themselves from the family. If you take away the royal part of this, none of this is all that unusual or surprising to me. Again, not condoning it. I think it's wrong. And I can honestly see a family that's been white for thousands of years has never considered this before, right?
I think the rub is, though, yes, it's definitely a legitimate question. I mean, biracial families or families of biracial couples have these kinds of conversations, even if they're unspoken, every day.
Right.
I think the challenge becomes when it becomes spoken of in a not a derogatory way, but in a more suspicious way of, how is that going to look for us, right?
Yeah.
Because as a public face of this monarchy, what happens when little Archie gets up to be whatever Duke of something or Earl of something, and he happens to be darker because the magic of DNA. You don't know what's coming out. You don't know how the genes are going to fire and what the melanin content is going to look like. And for them, I think it would have been a better question to wait and see after the baby was born, right? But I think also in there was some I don't want to say distancing, it seems, but there was some negotiating and navigating on these individuals of not to include her into the inner circle, because at that point now she's starting to get ingrained, and no matter what happens, they're going to have to include the kid. And they said in the book specifically that the people, it was not Prince Phillips or the Queen who had any reservations, and if they had them, they didn't speak them. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. Now here's a great leads me to another point. Is racism if I never act upon it? If it's a quietly held belief and I never voice it and I never say it and I never act upon it, right? Now this is an example where we can see the demonstration of the belief. The belief system is operating within the royal family, and the belief system is racist.
Yep.
At its core.
If
they kept their mouth shut, and is it even possible to keep your mouth shut and not act upon it? and not create a demonstration of your belief. Because what's getting them in trouble is the demonstration. The fact that they actually went out and didn't just consider or ponder or think, but they had a conversation about it. They started to, let's assume they started to ostracize Meghan and not sit with her at dinner, not talk with her as much because they're confused or whatever. When it becomes a demonstration, yeah, there's no question. And it's the line has been drawn, I guess.
But here's the rub. Here's the rub, right? My consciousness, if you will, is affected by a thought I have, whether I display it or not, right? So if I have animosity towards ABC, whoever that is, right, and I don't want to say it, but it's going to manifest in some kind of crazy way that I'm going to reduce my contact with that person because I feel something, or I'm going to be very short and curt to that. I mean, it'll be polite and correct, but it'll be short and curt. We won't talk about the weather. We won't talk about what you're cooking for dinner tonight. The manifestation of that idea of thought or that consciousness will be displayed, whether it's verbally announced or not, right? Because in the South,
all it took was a look to know.
That's all it took was a look.
Okay.
Or I'm on this side of the street, and when you come, I'm gonna walk on the other side of the street. I'm just walking beside the street, and so it's I don't know, man. It's interesting.
This is our philosophy in a nutshell, right, folks? This is the New Thought philosophy in a nutshell. If you hold the thought that someone is lesser, that someone is an other, at that point you give up denying that thought, and the belief must manifest. So it might manifest as a look, it might manifest as a little bit of a something, some crazy little movement, or it may manifest as a full-blown racist conversation or article or comment or something. You cannot have the belief without a corresponding demonstration.
Yes. Yeah. You won't ever get an apple tree and if you don't plant no seed, right? Or you'll never have a seed for an apple if there was never an apple around, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so it becomes this. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that story unfolds. Now here was something I didn't see this. I knew it was happening, but I lost track of the date. Is this debate between DeSantis and Gavin Newsom? I don't know if you heard. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that one.
I hadn't heard about this one.
They're set for a prime time debate Thursday night, and I don't know if this was. I don't know if I missed it. I didn't think it was this Thursday, but yeah, I think I missed it. It was yesterday.
That's.
And I'm definitely going to have to go back and look at the recording.
Yep.
Because it is going to be interesting, right? Because
the far right meets the far left. It's a jog and a half to get either one of them towards the center.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, and I really want to see the varying points and counterpoint from the extremes that they're making, because I think for us to move forward, one of the ways for us to move forward is to look at the two extremes and figure out what's the middle.
Right.
And either we find someone who can represent from the middle, we either push somebody pushes these guys more to the middle than the extremes, or we have to begin to look at, I believe, a life more holistically and not take these things as just little isolated events or this highlights events, and just write them off as that's just DeSantis being DeSantis, right? Okay, yeah, right. But DeSantis being DeSantis is causing confusion. So it's going to be interesting to see what this debate bring about. It was 90 minutes.
Yep. And Sean Hannity was the moderator.
That was the other piece.
Let's find somebody as impartial as we possibly can. Yeah, Sean Hannity. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, now, there was so much good news this week. Also, I think today, Vice President Harris is going to be at the climate convention.
Yep.
Or summit. And so that will be an interesting story to follow, given we looked at the climate in review of this 2023 year, of all of the anomalies we've had. Temperature never being this hot ever in recorded time. Okay, it may have been hot at some point, but it wasn't recorded. So if we look at what's been recorded, we're way outside the bounds.
Yeah.
As winter rolls in.
There's a part of me that wishes the polls would just flip already and get it over with. We kind of need, and I know how dark that might sound, but I'm pretty confident you and I and our folk are going to live through all that. So it just seems like there's a sculpture. I haven't seen it, and I forget where it is, but it's the sculpture with a whole bunch of men in a circle, and they're underwater, and they're up to their eyeballs in water. And it's representative of what we're experiencing right now. The climate is changing, the seas are rising, and we're still looking at each other, fighting and arguing whether it's real or not. And we're going to still be sitting at the table arguing over it when the water has crested over our eyes, over our forehead, and most of us are sitting underwater trying to debate whether or not this is real.
Yeah. I mean, it's just comical that, I also just popped into my head this other story that, I don't know, Elon Musk telling some of his people to go and have, fun with themselves because of some statement he put on Twitter. We have to begin, I believe, as we try to elucidate these different events on this program, we have to begin to think from our heart center. Right? We have to begin to respond to people from our heart center. Now, if you want to tell somebody that in person, and you want to, in an effort to try to resolve an issue or to release some pressure, whatever, do that. But to do it in the public sphere, where your credibility, the other person's credibility, the credibility of the platform, the credibility of civil conversation to resolve issues goes down the drain.
Yep.
Because people are going to say, well, if Elon Musk can say that, I should be able to say it too.
When will we stop celebrating the excesses, if you will, of the individual to focus on creating sufficiency for everyone. The whole, I brought this to mind with the whole Alex Jones thing. So the families of Sandy Hook have been awarded $1.5 billion. And Alex Jones has been ordered to pay the families of Sandy Hook $1.5 billion. The families of Sandy Hook offered him a settlement this week at $85 million.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, right. Little more than 50%. I think they're asking for 60% of the original award, basically. Now, no word on whether Jones can afford this or not, whether he's got that money or not, right? Whether he's already hidden all that money or not, given it to his wife, and and all those things that they've been doing. It still comes down to the point for me that there's no way he's going to spend that much money in his life. There's no way anybody needs that much. Now, I get it. It's not as easy and as cheap as it was. You can't buy, a cart full of groceries for $30 like you could back in the 50s. But nobody ever expected you to be able to pay that for a cartload of groceries. Now cost you a couple hundred. That's just the way it is. That's the way it was always going to be, that evolution of finance and commerce. But we're now getting to the point where so many people have so much money amassed that they would never use. Why aren't we finding ways as individuals, as organizations, and I know there are people in New Thought across the planet that are doing this, finding ways to get this resource, financial capital, money, to get this resource into the hands of the folks that are most at risk of most at risk on the planet, that are going to do the most good with it.
Right.
Not doing Alex Jones any goods with that extra 40 or 50 million sitting in his bank account.
Yeah. I mean, of course, someone would make the argument, well, he made the money or whatever. Okay, yeah, get it. His.
I don't know. Yeah, but why will he not have the consciousness of giving to be given that away? If you or I were making 10 million a year, 5 million a year, we wouldn't be banking all of it.
No.
And there's so many people out there, and Musk is just. He is the poster boy for excessive greed, and Bezos is the same. And Bezos keeps his nose clean and keeps his voice down, and Musk goes out there and parties it up and screams whatever he wants to. They're no different. They're just both greedy men who could change the world.
And let's just, in a heartbeat, let's just hope that these two individuals, and I don't know them personally, I only know their persona by what I've read or seen or so forth, but let us hope, and I don't know how old they are, but let us hope they're in a midlife crisis, and that once a little more wisdom come in from life experience, that they begin to make some different turns, and because like you said, I mean, you could pick 2, 5, 10 people on this planet right now who have an inordinate amount of money that could change the whole planet in terms of certain issues, and it could be done systemically so that it doesn't get abused, and so that it's kept in balance as best it can, until it takes seat.
Yep.
Because I'm reading this one book called Hidden Connections by Capra.
Yep.
And he has this little piece where he talks about the earth is a self-regulating system just like our body. And if you start thinking about the Gaia theory, right, the Gaia theory put forth by James Lovelock insists that this planet is an entity. Right. And so if you make that parallel, the system, i.e. the planet and all of the things that support it, are going to self-regulate and balance itself out. Now, we can work incongruent with that, or we can work congruently with that and have a better ride.
I'm up for the better ride, to be honest.
Great day for news today. I tell you, there's a lot going on today in the news.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to stay with this because I think it's important. Let's assume we're seeing the bottom. We're seeing the rock bottom of the political discourse in North America. We're seeing rock bottom in the denial of climate change. We're seeing rock bottom at how low we go when it comes to human rights. The Russian Supreme Court this week pretty much outlawed any type of advocacy for LGBTQ plus.
Wow.
Period. Any organization can be seen, and I think they said they ruled it as a the Justice Ministry labeled what the suit called the LGBT movement operating in Russia as an extremist organization and banned it.
Wow.
And the problem is there is no LGBTQ organization or company, or the movement could be anybody at any time.
Yeah.
So at any point, at any time, the Russian authority, the Russian law enforcement now has authority to arrest anybody. If you go over there and say, hey, I got a gay son and he's pretty cool, they could technically arrest you as an extremist. An extremist organization. I trust we have reached rock bottom in the way we treat people, and that the movement is now forward, that we are as a people. Now here's where everybody can get involved. So if you're watching, here's how you can get involved. We start with the belief. We got to start believing that this is the end of all of this stuff. And that we now can affirm, we can pray, we can envision, we can just shout it from the rooftops that there is a new day coming. And we are part of that by remembering that it doesn't matter who's got what DNA or chromosomes if they decide to get married and have a child, even if it might impact my status or my income. That it doesn't matter what lengths we have to go to serve as a healing balm to planet Earth, rather than just another flea waiting to get flicked off into the cosmic nothingness of life.
Yep.
We are the change that is necessary, and we bring the consciousness that can shift the future of humanity's existence on the planet.
Yeah.
Are we going to do it?
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Let's hope we are compelled by consciousness, by an open heart of compassion, and lastly, by some event changes in our environment that says if you don't change, you might not like the results. And so, and we know change is hard. We're not making glib of this, right? Change is hard, especially if it's generational changes, or especially if it's change that may reposition you in some status heat, whatever that might be.
Right.
But for you to survive, for me to survive in a civil environment where people, everybody does not have the aspiration. People think everyone has the aspiration to be a billionaire. Everyone does not have that aspiration.
Right.
So to make that assumption is flawed in the beginning. And so this is not trying to stop people from being creative, because we want creative people, and we think they should be complimented, recognized, compensated as such, but not to the detriment of the whole. And that seems to be part of the news that's being reported. There's some other news. Let's start reporting that so we can get something different in the consciousness.
Yes. That's the key. Let's get something different in the consciousness.
Yeah.
Well, we've effectively taken up pretty much all of our time here this morning. So thanks for being with us, folks. We appreciate you tuning in and checking out what we're doing here on New Thought Media Network, and specifically here on Friday mornings. My brother Elzia and I will be back again next week with more. Until then, we want to wish you an absolute fabulous day. Stay tuned for more here on the New Thought Media Network. We've got a full day of broadcasting, so we'll be here all day. Until next time, we want to wish you an absolute peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.